Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Mo, and today I'm going to be sharing with you journaling tips and techniques that I use to help improve my mental health and gain mental clarity. So my story with journaling began in the first grade. I was going to school in the middle of Ohio where I was just getting bullied for being different, and since I was so young at the time, I didn't really know how to deal with these feelings, and I also didn't feel like I could really share it with my parents or my other friends or even my sister. I just remember having these overwhelming feelings of shame and sadness, and so I just kind of wrote them all down in this little colorful notebook, and I remember feeling so much better. And that's kind of the mini origin story, and there's so many more reasons why I continue journaling now as an adult. But I remember that every time I journaled, I just felt validated because putting the words down on paper with my own pen made me feel seen and understood and validated in a way that I couldn't feel comforted by a friend or a parent or somebody outside of myself. I feel like journaling was my first big step towards self-validation. In my adult years, I've struggled with a lot. I've struggled with loss, grief, depression, disordered eating, and I've used journaling to process all of my highs and my lows. And I can tangibly tell the difference in my days when I journal versus when I don't. Because when I journal, I feel like I'm able to get everything out of my mind and onto paper, all my anxieties and worries, and I just feel less scatterbrained. I feel more focused. I feel more able to go about my day with a clean slate, and that really helps improve my mood. And the main reason for that is because if you have all these memories and feelings on repeat in your head, it's harder to stay present. And because I feel more present and more feelings of peace, and I feel like I have space to heal. I have here some of the benefits of journaling that I found online. So overall, journaling and expressive writing has been found to boost your mood, enhance your sense of well-being, reduce symptoms of depression before an important event, reduce intrusion and avoidance symptoms post-trauma, and improve your working memory. Some other benefits that were found is that journaling can help college students who are vulnerable to depression by reducing their brooding rumination, which are two contributing factors to depressive symptoms. And expressive journaling may not reduce the frequency of intrusive thoughts in depressed individuals, but it moderates their impact on depressive symptoms, leading to a reduction in symptoms. So that is a lot of benefits. And for a habit that can take from like 2 minutes to 30 minutes every day, I feel like it's worth it to get into it. So here are some steps I came up for you to begin your journey with journaling. Step 1. Find a journal. I've always found it easier to journal when I had a very beautiful notebook that felt very precious and special to me and really spoke to my soul and my unique aesthetic. So when you have a journal that feels like it's just for you, it's easier to let your emotions flow because it already feels like a safe space, like one that you've purposely and intentionally picked and cultivated for yourself. You should also consider size and whether you want it lined or unlined, just depending on your journaling style, whether you want to just write everything out or you want to draw or color. This will be important in picking which journal is right for you. Step number 2 is that once you get it, you have to write in it immediately. Journaling is something you can do at any time, day or night, but I know that when we start new habits, we try to confine ourselves to, say, journaling in the morning versus journaling at night, or just have very strict time frames around when we want this habit to begin. And oftentimes this can discourage us from continuing this habit if we miss this time frame. So it's better to just get it out of the way and write whatever you can in it immediately to familiarize yourself with your journal. And even if it's only your name or a couple of lines or the date, I promise you it will be worth it. Step 3. Put your journal by your bed with a pen or a pencil or whatever writing utensils you'll need. This step has helped me tremendously because in order to make it a habit, I really needed to see my journal every single day. So I'd keep it under my bed or by my bedside table. And this worked really well if you're struggling with your mental health because when you see it, you don't have to work for it as hard. And when you don't have to work for it as hard, it doesn't feel like a chore and you're not expending a lot of energy on it. And I know when I was really depressed, it lifted my moods to journal, and I really needed it to be close. It also serves as a really good reminder to do it right when you wake up or right before bed, depending on whatever your preference is. And finally, step 4, create journaling goals. Personally, I'm not someone who believes that you have to journal every day, and I think setting a high expectation like this can be kind of intimidating and dissuade you from trying to get into the habit of journaling every day. So I suggest that you try and journal as much as you can for the first week that you get it, and if you decide to take breaks or you didn't journal that day because you forgot, just try and make a mental note of how you feel that day versus the days that you journaled. And I feel like even noticing the difference will encourage you to want to journal every single day. Other journaling goals could look like journaling when certain events happen or when you feel a certain emotion, making sure that you get those emotions down to help you process them and to further understand your feelings. Since everyone's journaling goals can be unique, you can come up with your own, but the ones that I listed helped me to journal every single day. Next, we're going to get into the styles of journaling. The first style is stream of consciousness. This is my go-to style because it's so nice to turn off your brain and not have to think about whether the grammar was correct or if it sounds good. I can just say whatever is in my mind and put it down on paper with no judgment, and this instantly helps my mental clarity. So stream of consciousness is when you write down every single little thought that pops up into your head. You don't go back and reread it until you're completely done. You're also not supposed to overthink what you write unless your brain is overthinking. And what I mean by that is if you have a bunch of thoughts going through your head, put it down, but don't revisit it or judge yourself for it. If you're having a lot of thoughts, don't stop writing until you get all of those thoughts out on paper. And it's so important to not reread anything unless you are done writing, because that interrupts the whole flow of streaming consciousness and you might not get everything out that you needed to in the first place. Don't pay attention to how it's coming out or judge yourself about how it sounds. You made a grammar mistake? That's okay, just keep going. This style helps me when I'm feeling anxious or really sad because it allows me to just write everything down without judgment. And a lot of times I don't reread it ever until maybe like a year or a couple months later when I'm going through my journal again. I feel like this style really helps with intrusive and repetitive thoughts along with anxiety because you're able to revisit the topics as many times as you want and you don't feel pressured to reread them. And because I know it can feel annoying sometimes talking to other people about the same topics, but since your journal is just for you, you can repeat it as many times as you want until you start to feel better. The second style of journaling that I'm very fond of is processing and reframing negative emotions or events. This is a style where you write down everything that happened in a negative event or negative feelings that you had, and it's important to be completely honest so that you can address the root of the problem. Even if it sounds incredibly negative or dramatic, just get it down on paper. Then you're going to reread what you wrote. Notice if there's any way you can reframe the event or the feeling to give you a different perspective on it. Say you're stuck in a really crappy job after you struggled to get through college and you're just feeling like a failure because you're not doing the work you want to do. You're having pressure from your parents to get a different job or to stay in that job, and you overall just feel really, really lost. We can reframe that to ask ourselves, what kind of work do we want to be doing? Why do I expect myself to be someplace right now when I may not even know what I truly want? By reframing this negative event or situation, we can reinstate our own power and recognize that there are small changes we can do every day to get us to where we want to be in our lives. So what was going to be a cycle of self-deprecating thoughts and negativity and self-doubt turned into an action plan or a reflection or a dive further into self-introspection and self-knowledge. Personally, nothing helps me feel better than realizing that I can change the situation that I am in. So the third style of journaling I have for you all is journaling with nature. So this could mean journaling with the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, or journaling with the moon phases. Personally, I like to journal every new moon and full moon because I believe that they carry certain energies, and this style is a little more paganistic, so if you're not into that, that's okay. You can also journal on holidays, on birthdays, and just make it a time for reflection from where you are now, where you want to be, and where you were. Another style of journaling that I'm really fond of is journaling with prompts. This allows you to explore yourself with questions you may not have ever thought of before. It's also a great place to start if you don't feel comfortable with stream of consciousness or reframing negative experiences yet. Some prompts that I'm really fond of are: identify the things you're grateful for. Describe the best compliment you've ever gotten. Write a message for yourself on bad days. What values do you consider most important in life? How do your actions align with those values? What difficult thoughts or emotions come up most frequently for you? What are 3 self-defeating thoughts that show up in your self-talk? How can you reframe them to encourage yourself instead? Do your goals truly reflect your desires, or do they reflect what someone else wants for you? I have a couple closing thoughts and tips that I just thought I wanted to reiterate, like make sure to write about how you feel about what happened, because if you just write a log about what happened that day, that's fine if you want to do that type of style and you just want to remember the events that happened in your life. But in order to improve your sense of well-being, you need to really look at your feelings and emotions. And related to that is be honest, be completely honest. I know in some stages of our lives it feels harder to be honest with other people, but you really need to be honest with yourself when you're journaling. And lastly, don't be afraid to revisit topics or situations, because the brain constantly brings up memories and things that the heart actually wants to heal. So by revisiting things, don't feel like you haven't gotten past it. Just recognize that there are still things maybe that you need to heal or look at from a certain event or time period in your life. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys journal, I would love to hear about your personal practice and how it's affected you from your day-to-day life, whether it's been positive, how long it took you to make it a habit, and how many journals have you filled up so far? Because from when I was in 1st grade to now, I feel like I filled up about maybe like 12 journals, which is pretty cool. So also, do you guys keep your journals? Because I keep all of mine, and they're so fun to go back and read to see where I've been, what I was doing, who I was hanging out with. Yeah, it's like my own personal history book / encyclopedia of Mo. I hope you all got something beneficial from this video, and I look forward to hearing all about your journaling journey. Alright, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.